It's been 2 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the war has gone from this to this. A near-frozen frontline where neither side, Ukraine nor Russia, has an advantage. This is what's known as a tactical stalemate. In this situation, soldiers have one weapon of choice: artillery.
C'est des échanges de feu dans le but de diminuer la capacité de résistance des fortifications adverses pour en faciliter la prise et donc la progression territoriale.
But Ukraine's army is facing a major setback. In the spring of 2023, the ratio of ammunition fired was only 2-1 against the Ukrainians. But that ratio has risen to over 10-1 in favour of the Russians since January 2024. So why is Ukraine so short on ammunition? For Ukraine, and for Russia and the West, 2024 promises to be a critical year. Since the beginning of Russia's attempted all-out invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, many Western countries have supplied Ukraine's army with ammunition and other military equipment. From anti-tank rocket launchers, to bulletproof vests, to armoured personnel carriers.
Le but était de permettre à l'Ukraine de résister le mieux possible à l'offensive, mais surtout de faire le plus mal possible à l'envahisseur sans donner des moyens trop haut niveau technologique aux Russes qui, on le pensait, allaient invariablement finir par le capturer.
As the war dragged on, Western aid diversified. One donation in particular soon became essential for the Ukrainian army: the 155mm artillery shell. The ammunition is used by NATO members, and it's believed to be better quality than the 152mm shells used by Russia.
Et ce qui a permis à l'Ukraine de réellement gagner un avantage, notamment en termes de qualité et de précision des feux. Ce qui a permis à l'Ukraine en fait tout simplement de résister aux offensives de 2022 et de réussir ses propres offensives par la suite.
Ukraine's technical superiority, combined with long-range precise strikes thanks to Western missiles like the air-launched Storm Shadow and the HIMARS rocket launcher, helped Ukraine make it more difficult for Russia to form new brigades.
The Russian military has consistently chosen to attack prematurely before the force quality is there and before they're ready, on the basis of feeling like they have the numbers, they have the equipment, the artillery ammunition to do it. And these offensives have been unsuccessful.
But these accurate and high-tech ammunitions are running out fast, and Ukraine is now confronted with a reduction in the supply of these weapons from the West. To answer this question, we need to go back to the beginning of the offensive. Western support was in full swing, and large quantities of aid were delivered.
This very much was because the West were giving all the stockpiles it had.
In this kind of conflict, known as a high-intensity war, the amount of ammunition fired is significant.
Over time, as Ukraine was using tens of thousands of rounds per day, not only were the stocks depleted, but production was not able to ramp up quick enough to reproduce the ammunition that was being spent.
Having exhausted part of their military stocks, Western countries now have to either manufacture new ammunition or donate them directly from their current arsenal, something which France is doing. But there's one problem. The West's defense industry is not cut out to cope with Ukraine's ammunition needs. Since the end of the Cold War, Europe and the United States have been waging low-intensity conflicts that require fewer resources.
Small-scale conflicts you see in the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, and so the industry really has been tailored in one direction, where suddenly, the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Russia has seen a complete shift.
But reviving artillery ammunition production will take time.
Il n'y a que quelques pays parfois qui produisent certains éléments. Pour fabriquer nos canons d'artillerie, on a une forge. Ça correspond à la fois à une conséquence de la désindustrialisation de l'Europe occidentale, mais aussi spécifiquement à l'industrie de défense.
While Russia's defense industry runs at full speed to support its war effort, another unknown awaits Ukraine in 2024, that of politics.
I think all eyes right now in 2024 are on the US elections and what's going to happen, because I think a shift in US political stance might have a detrimental impact on the Ukraine war.
The US's 2024 presidential election in November could put Donald Trump back in the White House, despite a few exaggerated statements.
I would get a settlement in 24 hours.
A Trump presidency would not promise Ukraine the same US support as the Biden administration. Faced with these uncertainties, Ukraine can still count on a robust national defense industry. But, like in Europe, it needs to be developed, and that takes time.
These are not things that can be developed in 1 or 2 years. The reliance on Western technology, Western support, Western know-how, is still fundamental to essentially the state survival.
It's also risky.
L'un des désavantages ukrainiens, c'est que les Russes peuvent toucher la quasi-totalité de leur territoire, et donc toute capacité de production en Ukraine. Tout ça, ça peut être touché par les Russes d'une manière ou d'une autre.
To make up for its lack of artillery ammunition, Ukraine's army developed an impressive range of FPV, or first-person view, drones. The cheap but effective devices can be piloted remotely and close in on their target before exploding. Ukraine could also improve the training of its soldiers, which relies once again on the help of troops from NATO allies. Their training is necessary to defeat Russia, according to the Estonian Ministry of Defense. In a public report, the Estonian Ministry of Defense said that additional quantitative and qualitative training of Ukraine's troops, together with the necessary military assistance, will further increase Russia's attrition. This would push the Kremlin to force a national mobilization, which could destabilize Russian generals and Putin's presidency. And this year, Ukraine could receive and fly its first modern combat aircraft, like the American F-16s, donated by a number of Western countries. With the right training and the right missiles, Ukrainian pilots could regain the upper hand over Russia, at least in the air. An advantage without which the current tactical stalemate could in time turn against Ukraine.
So shifting the dynamic of the conflict might be one of the, maybe the options that Ukraine, I think, have been pushing for. And I think the Western allies need to realize that potentially this could be, the way forward.